Good morning, gardening friends. It is now Saturday at about 10 a.m. and I think this is my first update of the week. It's just been busy around here, so let's take a look around, see what's changed. On the pepper plant here, I think it's a mixture of good news and bad news. We'll start with the bad news so we can finish with the good. I've got another leaf down here. I've been moving them off to the side so I know there's another little piece down here. So something's trying to eat again, but the mix with the marigold, the tea, if you will, seems to be really helping out. But the good news, if you look carefully in the center of the picture there, you'll actually see a pepper. This one kind of snuck up on me. That's on the Peperoncini plant. I don't see any on the Marconi yet, despite the leaves that are falling and what have you. Peperoncini has been largely left alone, and I've got that one pepper, so now I've got to watch it carefully, make sure it's mature before I pick it off and try and enjoy my first ever grown pepper. Meanwhile, some of the tomato plants are looking better than others. I don't know how well you can see, but this is the heat tolerant, what's it called, a Somerset tomato. And it's got a bunch of little flowers on it, and I suppose I should probably spank it a bit, try and encourage it. I've been putting up some gardening tape to try and rein it in, keep it from falling over. Some of the plants have actually been getting weighed down under their own fruit. I'll show you that in a minute, but this is mainly just trying to keep it from overtaking the strawberry bed. But anyway, I'm encouraged to see that I've got actual flowers on this plant, and the fact that it's right across from the air conditioner, which just kicked on. This here is the Brandywine, and it's looking reasonably healthy. I don't see chewed up leaves or anything like that. There's a couple of flowers, and I'll give her a spank. So that one's encouraging. I've just spent a bit of time cleaning up all three of the tomato plants on this end, the yellow pear, the patio tomato, and the hard rock on the right there. And if you look carefully here, you can see on the hard rock tomato plant that I've got 5 tomatoes growing. I've got one right here that's starting to change color, but unfortunately that's also the one that looks like it suffered blossom end rot. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to consume that tomato or not. Maybe I can just cut off the bottom part of it. I need to look that up, make sure it's not going to hurt me. After all the effort, I'm really looking forward to actually eating one of these tomatoes. Next to that, I've got the patio tomato, which I just pulled a ton of deadness off of. That'll open up the plant, get it a little bit more sun, allow things to grow a little bit better. And that leaves us with the yellow pear, which continues to bear fruit. Makes me happy there. Earlier this week I had to put some more tape on this to try and hold up one of the branches that I realized was so heavily weighed down it was actually in the next planter. So, but tomatoes are doing well. In the south courtyard, the planters up on the wall here are starting to look a little bit better, a little bit more balanced. I've been going through and trying to clean them out. I've also been giving a lot of these plants a tremendous amount of water this week because of the heat. But I've also come up with a new watering pattern, so it's not like I'm doing it every 2 or 3 days like I was before. I'm pretty much having to do it every day just to keep them alive. But they're bouncing back because they were, after last week it was pretty hot, and then this past week it was fairly hot. So, I mean, we're talking upper 90s into 100. Actually, yesterday I think I made it to 103. So it gives you some idea. That'll really kind of dry out a lot of your vegetation. So I've had to just keep applying water. Hopefully it'll kind of settle down in a little bit, so I don't have to use too much. But that's what, that is what it is. Anyway, these are looking fairly nice. In the 3 planters, the rectangular planters I have hanging off the wall, I put a mixture of verbena and broomcorn. And as you can see in this one, actually let me go in closer. hopefully now you can see I've got quite a few little sprouts in there. Actually, looks like the water hasn't completely dried out from yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and water again today. So I'm encouraged by this. This is the best one. The other two have maybe 1 or 2 sprouts in them, but it's progress. The roses have really taken off. Not sure what I'm doing differently other than having to water a lot more this week. So maybe they've been starved for water, but they really are just exploding. Or it may be a delayed effect. It may be that what I was doing before with watering every 2 or 3 days, but really deeply, that may have been the real benefit to these plants, and then they just started to recover. I'm now actually thinking in terms of some of these other planters that I've got down on the ground. They never seem to grow anything, but here I've got these nice roses that want to get bigger. So I might transplant them into those. We'll see. In the 20-gallon planters, the petunias are starting to pick up nicely. I've also got this weed that continues to grow in so many different places, and I've just chosen to let it be. Just to kind of fill things in until I get other plants in or figure out what I want to do. It does a nice job kind of filling in, so it looks nice in this planter. And then if you look carefully, you might see that I've actually got some coleus that started to grow in there. So another thing to make me happy. Speaking of coleus, we've got some nice examples of it right here on the left, and I've actually cleaned a lot of the dead leaves from the planters on the right and from the pergola itself. Let me get you a better shot of that. Okay, I admit this is a lot in shadow, so it may not come out as well, but there's quite a bit of foliage growing up the sides here. If you were to look at the pots where the plants are coming out, they're just thin little stems popping out, but boy, once those suckers get going, they really get going. So I'm happy to see the pergola having quite a bit of greenery on it. Every couple of days I'll see a couple of flowers on it too, so this is all positive. And for the pots here on the north side of the pergola, I've actually got some sprouts in that back pot. I don't know if there's anything in the front. Well, there might be one tiny little micro one in there, but that's what coleus and forget-me-nots and nemophila, and I think I had one extra, I'm trying to read what that actually says, bachelor button, and actually that's right in the middle where I planted that bachelor button. I can see a sprout. So anyway, that's looking good here. So really doing well this week. And up here in the north courtyard, we've got this one pot. If you missed it last week, these are growing like gangbusters. I think there's something different with the soil here. One of the neighbors actually did add something on top at one point last year while they were looking at the plants, I guess, kind of struggling a little bit, and I appreciate that very much. So the most of the climbing plants, it seems, are the ones that are actually growing right now. Anything else set up for ground cover hasn't really popped yet, but I'm a happy camper. And that takes us back to the petunia planter in the south courtyard where I usually wrap up, which is what I'm going to do here. I will point out that there are some seedlings in there, some sprouts. Makes me happy to see that I'm going to have some more flowers in there besides just the petunias, which actually I think I need to deadhead a little bit, but that's how things go. So this is the Budget Gardener signing off and saying, may your thumb be green. And now a quick little update on the vermiculite experiment. I have not been as good this week at taking a picture every day as I had intended, but it looks to me, just from sort of raw data here, like the vermiculite is helping. How much is hard to quantify. I don't see any actual sprouts coming up from the nasturtium seeds that I planted. Of course, all those seeds could have been bad for all I know. The beans have done remarkably well. The yard longs are doing better than some of the others. As you can see, basically the beans to the left seem to be the tallest, the beans in the middle are growing nicely, and the ones on the right are just barely developing. And it looks like I've got a sprout in every one except where I have 100% garden soil but no vermiculite. That's the only one where a bean did not pop yet. So that should give you some idea how this experiment is going. I've actually figured out that I've got enough materials to do another experiment like this, so I'm toying with the idea of setting that up today or maybe Monday, and that'll be in with the next episode.